Good evening. In the wake of the truce between Israel and Lebanon, questions loom over Hezbollah's next move, the economic toll on Lebanon, and the future of the fragile ceasefire. As the Russia-Ukraine conflict escalates, Ukraine seeks global support, while Russia demands a halt to US arms supplies. Tensions rise with Russia's missile advancements and energy strikes, prompting questions on the future of diplomacy and global involvement. These are our topics tonight. Welcome to In Focus. And let's begin with Lebanon.
منطقة سكنية لا فيها أشياء عسكرية ولا فيها شيء. مثل أول شيء أنا عاجز وبدي أهرب.
In a country of that size, which is relatively small, and a population that's estimated around 5 million people, you can imagine how dramatic it is that over 1 million people are now without shelter and on the move.
The Guardian has reported that Hezbollah has declared victory despite the recent ceasefire with Israel, maintaining its readiness for any further escalation. While Lebanon witnesses a return of displaced citizens, the ceasefire remains fragile, with Israel enforcing strict military restrictions in the area. International reactions are mixed, with Hezbollah supporters celebrating, while Israel's critics question the effectiveness of the agreement. Despite this ceasefire's significance, there are widespread doubts about its durability, especially after heavy Israel strikes and Hezbollah's rocket fire. Meanwhile, global attention is turning to Gaza, with Egypt and the US pushing for a ceasefire and humanitarian aid, while Israel faces ongoing scrutiny over its military actions. Now, to provide us some analysis on the most recent developments in Lebanon, joining us is Paula Yakubian, a member of the Lebanese Parliament, joining us from Beirut. Welcome to the program. How important is Nabi Berri's call for a presidential election session on January the 9th today? How important is it for Lebanon's political stability?
It's long overdue. This was supposed to be 2 years ago. He was calling for some sessions. However, there was no president because there was no quorum, and those who were, doing this are his party and Hezbollah mainly, and their allies. So hopefully this time there will be a president. It's crucial for Lebanon to have a president, to have working institutions, to have a government that is able to work with all the responsibilities right now. I don't need to remind you, I think Lebanon is going through its worst financial meltdown, worst economic crisis. And in the midst of that, this unnecessary, useless war that destroyed what was left in the country. So Lebanon needs to have a president, a cabinet, a government, and it needs to restore its credibility in the world.
And with Israel continuing military activity in southern Lebanon, how does Lebanon balance security concerns with the needs of its displaced citizens?
Well, most of these displaced citizens, the civilians, they went back to their homes, to their towns, as from the first minutes of the ceasefire. Now, obviously, Israel is keeping its military. We have 58 more days for this, for the full withdrawal of the Israeli forces. There is some problems happening today and yesterday, but I think all parties have the interest of keeping this deal up and running and working. So I think they will keep their promises, their commitments, and Iran, who is also a huge player in Lebanon, is apparently also for the deal. Otherwise, Hezbollah wouldn't accept it. So till now, every day we are discovering also new new clauses about this deal. It's not just what's written. There is apparently more than the paper that was leaked. There's more than that. One of these conditions is also having a president in these within these 60 days, and that's why it was on January 9 of next year. So I hope that things are going in the right direction. However, it's also not sure how things will unfold. Will it be still? There's a possibility that things will go wrong. Always there's something that might go wrong, especially with Netanyahu and with all these countries that are really trying to influence Lebanon and the political parties here. So it was never really a war between Israel and Lebanon. It was always a war between Iran and Israel, but it was happening on Lebanese soil. Unfortunately, Lebanon is still the battlefield for these countries, and I hope this time we'll have some stability for a while.
Absolutely, a proxy war being carried out on Lebanese soil. Does Hezbollah have a plan to transform into a political party? And if so, how important would that be, and what difference would that make?
I don't think that Hezbollah is willing from its own free will to be just a political party. They were used since 82, since officially they were there in 85, but their first operation started in 82. Since then, always Hezbollah was always, its military wing was so important, and it gave them leverage. It gave them all this influence. They were able to do their fear mongering all the time because of having disarmed. It won't be easy to disarm Hezbollah. This is something that we've called for years and years. And now again, it's not the 1701 that is going to disarm Hezbollah. It's 1559. That's why the Lebanese people should call for the full implementation of 1559. And it should be somehow also the international pressure on Iran should continue so it can really accept to disarm Hezbollah, because you have to remember these arms are Iranian arms, and Hezbollah was fighting the fight in Lebanon not only for the Lebanese and for their safety and stability. It was also somehow it was a front line for Iran, and it was very obvious during this last war that we are fighting for the Iranians on Lebanese soil. So this is a very tricky question. Would they keep the arms, northern Litani, for I don't know when, or the deal will be reached and it will include also no arms in Lebanon? And this will be an opportunity for Lebanon to regain its stature as a fully independent and sovereign state.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Paula Yacoubian, a member of the Lebanese Parliament, joining us from Beirut. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, as Israel and Hezbollah enter a ceasefire, President Biden says the US is intensifying efforts for a resolution in Gaza. As his administration prepares to approve a $680 million arms deal to Israel, how will international dynamics shape the future of Gaza's fragile situation? The Guardian newspaper has reported that the recent ceasefire in Lebanon has raised doubts about the possibility of peace in Gaza. Despite US efforts, Israel's hard-right coalition, led by Netanyahu, is committed to a total victory in Gaza, making any compromise less likely. Meanwhile, Netanyahu faces mounting political pressure, with his coalition demanding continued war, and the spectre of looming legal troubles pushing him to prolong the conflict. Additionally, the international dynamics, including Biden's push for a deal and the uncertainty of Trump's return, create further complexity. The situation remains dire, with Gaza's devastation continuing as both sides remain entrenched in their positions. And for more on this and more on the situation in Gaza, we are joined from California by Dr. Ashraf Singer, a world political analyst for us. Welcome to the program. So how does Biden's new push for a Gaza ceasefire differ from past attempts?
Biden now is currently is trying, pushing, all of his efforts and his administration to reach and secure the ceasefire between Israelis and Gaza and Hamas, and this is including, the support of Egypt, Qatar, and now they add up on what I heard that it's Turkey gonna to play a role in working hard about these ceasefires. Of course, the White House now, this is very crucial time. They need to get that deal done for two reasons. First reason, number of hostages were Americans, and they need to get Americans back. This is one of the a good things for that administration, and just to polish what we call, the notion that Biden administration was really, what I say, didn't really give, I would say, that strong power that United States has to push, for that agreement, either from two sides. Something is really different than Lebanon. That difference is actually the hostages problem. Biden still blame Hamas. They didn't really succeed to give a positive notion to achieve, the outcome of negotiation. But Biden didn't really blame Israel for or blame Netanyahu for that number of obstacles Netanyahu created, to stop that deal. This is why I don't feel optimistic, about the ceasefire in Gaza pretty soon. But I'm sure, Biden administration is working hard to stop that fighting, to get that ceasefire as soon as possible. Second, what I feel that situation probably pretty complicated in Gaza, not like Lebanon. Probably Lebanon was much easier than Gaza. There is like a tit for tat. The Biden administration was working hard to let the Saudi and Israelis normalize their relation and bring these guys together and recognize each other officially. And exchange, the diplomatic mission.
Dr. Ashraf, you mentioned the differences between the situation in Lebanon and the situation in Gaza. But could the Lebanon-Israel ceasefire influence negotiations for a Gazan peace deal?
This is what I'm hoping. But in terms of thinking about the hostages problem, it is still one of the major failure of Israel mission in Gaza, because they didn't really reach to release the hostages. So this is still a big deal for Americans too. So this is why I'm seeing, probably Gaza will not be easy like Lebanon, negotiation on the ceasefire. It seems to me it's probably going to be difficult. And maybe yesterday I was very optimistic, but today it seems to me like, after Biden approved that kind of arms, transfer arms to Israel, more than $600 million. This is mean they gonna to give that huge support to Netanyahu. And this is the way. I'm sorry, I'm not optimistic about the situation in Gaza, and if it's still the idea of pushing Palestinians out of Gaza, this is still on their agenda, and this is really require a huge support and a huge collective actions gonna to be created among the Arab states, Jordan, Egypt, Gulf states, to stop that proposal. But that proposal is still on the table, and this is why it's still very dangerous to be uh, dreaming, or to be dreaming that is, Netanyahu, that Biden can really
Yeah.
end that soon.
Okay, well, you mentioned there the arms deal. At the very moment that Biden is supposedly pushing for a resolution in Gaza, he has signed this $680 million arms deal with Israel. What do you make of that?
This is mean that is Biden is still giving, like Netanyahu, that huge support as he did in the past, before a year ago. Stopping selling arms to Israel with one of the tools that Biden can really control the Israelis' decisions, to get that deal done, for the ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. But my concern that is, if Israel, ended or reached to the ceasefire with Lebanon, the Israelis gonna to move with full capacity to deal with Gaza aggressively and bloody. This is not really a good news for me, because I was hoping that is both of that war in Lebanon and Gaza stopped at the same time. So for Gaza, it seems to me we're gonna to spend another time to try to think about, what the new proposal that, that Itmar Ben Gvir, Smotrich plus Netanyahu, what they need really to execute in Gaza, uh, more than stop, or reaching the ceasefires or get the hostages. Um, I'm not optimistic, and probably they are waiting at Trump
Yeah.
on the new administrations. Probably they can get more support and energy um, from that administration, to push harder
Yeah.
to execute their, bad scenario. And unfortunately, it is still on their table as long as Ben Gvir and Smotrich they are performing, and they
Absolutely.
have that control on Netanyahu.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf Singer, a world politics analyst, joining us from a very pretty garden in California. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, let's move to the latest developments in the Russian-Ukrainian war. US News reports that Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that Russia could target decision-making centers in Kyiv, responding to Ukrainian long-range strikes on Russian territory using Western weapons. This comes after Ukraine fired US ATACMSs, or ATACMS, missiles into Russia, leading to Russia's retaliation with its new Oreshnik hypersonic missile. Putin emphasized that Russia's advanced missile production outpaces NATO's tenfold and has promised to increase production. While Kyiv remains protected by air defenses, Russia is focusing on military and industrial targets, including government centers in the Ukrainian capital, as part of its ongoing escalation in response to Ukrainian attacks. providing more analysis for us about the latest developments in the Russia-Ukrainian war. Is joining us from Paris, Abdelghani Al-Ayadi, a former advisor to the European Parliament. Thanks very much for being with us on the program. So Russia has decided to target energy facilities as a response to this escalation. What, in your view, is the strategic significance of these particular Russian attacks?
Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this discussion. Well, things are going as they have to go after the election of Trump in the United States of America. This election changed a lot of things for Ukraine and for Russia, but did not change the essential, relationship between Russia and the United States. This Cold War is going on, and Russia tries every method and every strategy to remain a force and a major force in Europe and a major force in the world, and calculating United States of America. Now Russia is looking for a way to end the war and to end it for it positively. They see and know well that Trump will change something, will change a lot of things. Maybe strategic point of view will be changing in the United States of America with Trump. So they see that they're encouraged by this changement and push to an end the war for Russia and for the interests of Russia. With the absence of Europe, with the absence of the force of Europe, with the absence of an army or a military strategy in Europe, which is looking for just building its strategy or its defense strategy, and still don't have any way to do it.
And what do you make of Putin's statements about the possibility of targeting what he called decision-making centers in Kyiv? Is it just a threat, do you think, or a genuine strategic option for Russia?
Sorry, I didn't want to get what you said because the sound is very, very bad. So repeat, please.
Yes, no problem. Putin, he made statements about the possibility of targeting Ukrainian decision-making centers. What do you make of that?
Well, Ukraine may say everything, may decide everything because it is in a defense position. And it may adopt a lot of strategies and adopt a lot of populist decisions or populist statements. But I think that it has to be behind or in front of a reality. This war is taking another way, and it is ending not like what Ukraine wants to end it, or Europe wants to end it, but like Russia wants to end it.
Well, the European Parliament has called for an increase in support for Ukraine and further economic sanctions against Russia. Can you see this stance of the Europeans lasting?
I said before that Europe is looking for building its presence, its military presence, its military or defense strategy, its unity, military unity, and this unity military does not exist in the fact. Like the geopolitical unity does not exist between all these countries. Whatever we see that we have a European Union, but indeed. In fact, there's no common strategy to reinforce this defense, this aimed defense strategy. In the absence of a clear point of view of the United States of America, what it will be with Trump, Europe is continuing. Yeah. Just continue what I say before, what they did before, reinforce Ukraine's stance and its military position, because they see that the Russians war is just a threat. Yes. For their security, their own security.
Okay.
And that's it. So they do what they can, but they do not, unfortunately, exist like solid military unity and
Okay.
solid military
Well,
point of view.
thank you very much, Abdelghani El Ayadi, who is a former advisor to the European Parliament, joining us from Paris. Thank you very much for being there with us. And that's all for In Focus today. Stay here. Kareem Haitam is here next with a full roundup of the day's news. Thanks for watching.